It's like you're trapped in a cage made of invisible bars. Bars no one ever told you existed, but they're there. Every day you wake up knowing you're supposed to build something huge, to change the game, to not just play in the pond, but to own the ocean. But somehow, the world keeps pushing back. It's telling you where you belong, what you're allowed to do, who you should be connected to, which zip code you need to justify your worth. And deep inside, you feel that itch, that restless burning in your gut screaming that the stars are not the limit. They're just the beginning. You aren't just a founder, an investor, a leader. You're a force waiting to be unleashed, held back only by the walls that geography wraps around you. This is why founders are on the move like never before. You see it, you feel it. People with ideas too big for their hometowns, investors chasing innovation in new soil, leaders who refuse to be limited by national borders, they're all migrating. But this isn't just about chasing greener pastures or escaping stagnant markets. It's something primal, urgent, electric. The hunger for real freedom, for connection that matches the scale of their ambition, for environments that don't just tolerate fire, they ignite it. Because here's the brutal truth most won't say. Being stuck in the wrong place is like trying to run a marathon with your legs tied. The systems around you, the rules you're forced to play by, they're designed to keep you small. They veil the illusion of freedom while tightening the noose. When you try to rise, the walls of comfort and convention slam shut. If you stay, your brilliance dims like a candle in a hurricane. You are isolated, maybe surrounded by a crowd, but utterly alone with your impossible vision. And isolation kills more dreams than failure ever will. So what pushes the brilliant few to pack their bags? Why do they leap into the unknown? Because they have to. Because falling into line is not an option. Because every heartbeat reminds them that their work has to meet the magnitude of the crisis we live in. A world that's fracturing by the hour, where nation-states lose grip and the old maps don't fit anymore. To create what's next, you can't be anchored to outdated borders and yesterday's politics. You need to be free, untethered, sovereign, raw. But freedom is not just moving. It's moving with purpose, with precision, into spaces that multiply your strength, not dilute it. Founder migration is not just relocation. It's a powerful statement, an act of rebellion and strategy. The places attracting the bold now aren't the ones with the biggest flags or fanciest towers. They're the ones with porous borders, with cultures that celebrate difference because they know it breeds innovation. They're the places where rare sparks find oxygen, where misfits aren't just tolerated, but elevated, where disconnected brilliance becomes aligned power. Here's what's invisible to many. The real shift isn't about escaping hardship or chasing tax breaks. It's about finding a network, a tribe, a complex ecosystem of people who see the world like you see it, who challenge you, who get your intensity without watering you down. Without this connection, genius remains latent, fragmented. But when these few align, synergy explodes, and everything impossible becomes suddenly doable. This network doesn't exist within countries. It lives between them, across cultures, spanning continents. It's the place where founders find investors who don't just write checks, they share visions. Where leaders meet collaborators who don't just execute tasks, they build legacies. But how do you find this network? How do you break through the noise that keeps promising belonging but delivers conformity? The answer is brutal but liberating. You must become selective, ruthless even. It's a journey where you drop old alliances that no longer fuel your fire. You stop chasing places because of their surface appeal and start chasing places because they challenge you to become more. You learn to ask the ugly questions. Does this environment honor the rare in me, or does it reject it? Do the people here burn as I burn, or do they whisper to sleep? This selectivity isn't arrogance, it's survival of your soul. And here's the emotional core of it all. This is scary, really scary, because leaving means losing the comforts you knew, the familiar faces, the predictable routines, the safe paths marked out by others. It means standing naked in the open, vulnerable, at the edge of the map. But that edge? That's where everything lives. That's where the future is made. When founders take this leap, they don't just change their location, they change their destiny. Now, for those on the fence still feeling the pull yet held back by doubts, here's what the real pros know, but rarely say outright. The smartest founders don't run to places simply because they're trendy or tech hubs. They run towards environments that foster not just growth, but transformation. They seek ecosystems that reward risk, where failure is a currency and curiosity is the language. Places wired by openness that don't filter ideas, but amplify the wild, the dangerous, the unknown. And most important of all, they choose hubs where individuality is currency, and radical voices aren't just heard, they are the backbone. Because here lies the deeper beast. True innovation is never a team sport played in comfort zones. It's a solitary war dialed up into symphony. It's about embracing discomfort, chaos, and difference. Migrating founders understand this. They know the world does not owe them structure or safety. They take sovereignty instead. They make their will a weapon, their network a shield, their vision an anthem. And to those leaders and investors watching this unfold, everything changes now. If you want to back what's next, you have to rethink where and who you connect with. The future isn't in predictable places. It's in unexpected clusters, networks knitted by authenticity and sharp edges. To invest in founders who will reshape the planet, you need to follow their migration paths, not just geography, but psychology, culture, and values. This movement is more than a trend. It's a rebellion against mediocrity, against the easy lies sold as freedom. It's a call to those burned by the world's complacency, those who refuse to live half-lit or borrowed lives. The global founder migration is the story of the unchained spirit rising. It's the collective roar of individuals who will refuse the cage and rewrite the rules. This is not for the comfortable or the compliant. It's for the restless, the fiery, the ones who see the world as it could be, not just as it is. Those who dare to question everything. Who don't just seek new ground but own it. Who will survive the storm and build a world not tied to borders, but wired for human greatness. If this message hits your chest like a hammer on steel, if you feel the restless whisper calling you beyond the familiar, it's more than coincidence. It's in your bones. The choice now is brutal. Stay small and safe in a cracked world, or move fiercely into the edge and become extraordinary. So hear this. Where you plant yourself next is not just about opportunity. It is the battlefield for your soul, the forge for your ideas, and the network that will carry you from isolated brilliance to unstoppable force. The world is shifting beneath your feet, but it's also waiting. For the few who refuse to be passive, who will migrate not just to survive, but to set the world on fire. Welcome to the movement. Welcome to becoming more than anyone ever thought possible. Welcome to the brutal, beautiful future that only the few will claim, and those few will change everything.